Hello and a very warm welcome viewers. You're watching the Question Hour show from the Parliament House complex, the show where we bring all the important unstarred questions asked by the members of the upper house and the response given by the government in written format. I'm KRITI MISHRA and joining me is my colleague RAJAT.
Thanks KRITI and thanks to your viewers for watching this edition of Question Hour. Well, Question Hour is an essential tool of parliamentary democracy where the MPs get to question the government, and our show focuses on the questions asked by the MPs and replies given by the government.
And in this edition, we'll get all the important questions asked during the ongoing 253rd session of the upper house. There are different types of questions, the starred ones, the unstarred ones, and also the short notice ones. But Rajat, how are these questions asked and how are they replied to? Here's a small presentation for our viewers.
A member submits his or her questions at least 15 days before the office of Rajya Sabha chairman. The Rajya Sabha Secretariat chooses the questions to be answered through a draw of ballots. Separate ballots are held for starred and unstarred questions. The questions are scrutinized for admissibility under the current rules and precedents. Questions are disallowed if they are not in order. Advance copies of chosen questions are sent to ministry or departments concerned. The ministry concerns collect information to prepare the reply. The minister concerned reply to starred questions on the floor of the House and provides written answers to unstarred questions. Up to 160 unstarred questions are listed every day in a separate list.
Well, there you saw how these questions are asked and how they are answered. Well, KRITI, it's time to begin our show.
And the first question in this edition of the Question Hour show is from Rajya Sabha MP, Mr. Kiroti Lal Meena, and this question is to the Ministry of Home Affairs. And the member has inquired about police population ratio in the country.
Well, it's an important question, KRITI, and reply to this query was given by Minister of State for Home, G. Kishan Reddy. The Minister says that as per the data on police organization compiled by Bureau of Police Research and Development, or the BPRND, the ratio of police personnel per 1,000 people is 1.95 as per sanctioned strength on the 1st of January 2020 and 1.55 as per the actual strength. The organizational structure of police forces varies from country to country as to the functions and tasks assigned to them. Many countries do not have central armed police forces. In addition, the number of policemen required is dependent on several variables like volume of crime, societal structure, use of technology and local problems. There are no universal standards or United Nations recommendations to assess the optimal level of force in a country. Police reforms are an ongoing process. The Honorable Supreme Court, in the writ petition filed by Prakash Singh, has given 7 directions in its order on 22nd of September 2006. These directions were to constitute a State Security Commission in every state, selection of Director General of Police of the state from amongst 3 senior-most officers of the force empanelled for promotion to the rank by the UPSC, to prescribe a minimum tenure of 2 years to the police officers on operational duties, separate investigating police from law and order police, starting with towns and urban areas having population of 10 lakhs or more and gradually extend to smaller towns and urban areas, to set up police establishment board as at the state level for deciding all transfers, postings, promotions and other service related matters of the officers, and below the rank of Deputy Superintendent of Police to constitute Police Complaint Authority at the state and district level for looking into complaints against police officers, and to set up National Security Commission. These directions were forwarded to state and union territories for implementation. Well, police is a state subject falling in the list 2 of the 7th schedule of the Constitution of India, and it's primarily the responsibility of the states and UTs to implement police reforms. The Centre also issues advisories to states to bring the requisite reforms in the police administration to meet the expectation of the people. Well, moving on to next question, that is a very important question asked by member VIKAS MAHATME from Ministry of Labour. The member sought details if government is aware of the prevalent conditions of child labour even after ban on child labour across the country.
Well, Government of India has taken several steps to eliminate the menace of child labour in the country, and there's a detailed response given by Labour and Employment Minister Santosh Gangwar. He goes on to say that government stands committed to eliminating child labour from the country. The government has amended the Child Labour Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986 and enacted the Child Labour Prohibition and Regulation Amendment Act 2016. The Amendment Act provides for complete prohibition of work or employment of children below 14 years of age in any occupation and process and prohibition of adolescents in the age group of 14 to 18 in hazardous occupations and processes. The Amendment Act also provides for stricter punishment for employers for violation of the Act and has made the offence cognizable. As per the information received from various states and UTs, the total number of prosecutions launched during 2020 is 312. Besides, the government has also framed the Child Labour Prohibition and Regulation Amendment Rules 2017, which specifies the duties and responsibilities of state governments and district authorities to ensure effective enforcement of the provisions of the Act. The Ministry of Labour and Employment is also implementing the National Child Labour Project Scheme since 1988 for rehabilitation of child labourers. Under the NCLP, the children in the age group of 9 to 14 years are rescued or withdrawn from the work and enrolled in the NCLP special training centres, where they are provided with bridge education, vocational training, midday meals, stipend, health care before being mainstreamed into formal education system. The children in the age group of 5 to 8 years are directly linked to the formal education system through a close coordination with the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. And joining us on the Question Hour show is Rajya Sabha MP Dr. VIKAS MAHATME. Sir, welcome to Rajya Sabha TV and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So during the ongoing 253rd session of Rajya Sabha, you'd asked a very pertinent question about elimination of child labour in the country. The government has given an exhaustive reply listing out all the steps that it has taken to eliminate this practice of child labour. What is your take on government's response?
Yeah, it's a very important issue as far as especially for our country, because as you know, in the poor people, the child starts earning from day one when the birth is there. You will see the beggars in our large cities. You will see they approach with a small baby, and then you feel very sad that the baby is there, and you will of course like to give some money to that lady. So why you want to give money? Because the child is small and she is carrying the child. So the child starts earning from the day one. And that is why we want to take care of all these children, and it's a very important issue. And we have a large population of young children, and nearly more than 1 crore child labourers are there in our country, and gradually we are successful in reducing this number.
So the government also talks about coordination between the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan as well. What is your take?
That is, this government is committed for this, and they have taken many steps. As far as you can see, there is a Child and Adolescent Prohibition, Child and Adolescent Labour Prohibition Act 2016, and they have done 1, 2, 3 things more. That this comes under the state's purview. This is in the state list. So they have made some rules and regulations where the state has to act according to those rules and regulations. So that is very important. And Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, what has happened? The National Child Labour Project is there, NCLP is there, Child Labour Project, and under that, below 14, those who are employed and have been exposed to child labour, rehabilitation of the children is very important. As you know, even if you say that, okay, we will stop the child labour, then what will happen? How they will get the food, how they will get the education, that is a major problem. So it should be looked into all together. So what government has done, and I am very happy that the minister has taken a good step, that the education, the food, the midday meal program, and everything will be taken care of. And accordingly, if you take these students to normal schools, it will be very difficult for these children to adapt. So what they have done, in between there will be some education will be given, and then they gradually be moved to the general stream. So this way I think is the best way to prevent labor, child labor as well as addiction. So that has been the best way.
Lastly, sir, any specific suggestion that you'd like to make?
What is most important, what I feel is the part of every citizen is very important. The information, education and communication should be there. Suppose if I go to a dhaba on the street, what you will see? Sometimes child laborer are working there, they serve the food and you feel very bad, but you don't do anything. No, you can. You can also contribute to avoid this child labor. What you can do? You can start going away. You will meet that owner of that dhaba saying that you have employed child labor, so I shall not eat here. And what is the most important, why is employing child labor? Is to earn more. When he knows that I shall not earn if I employ child labor, then automatically this child labor will go up. So everybody has to contribute, and I think you are projecting this and this will reach to everybody in the population. I hope definitely in a short duration we will be able to eliminate child labor.
Well, that's a very valid point that you're making, sir. On that note, thank you so much for joining us and speaking to us. Well, let's move on to the next question, and this one has been asked by member Sanjay Seth, and this question is to the Ministry of Civil Aviation. And the member has inquired about the number of new airports proposed or constructed during the last 5 years.
A reply to this query was given by Minister of State for Civil Aviation, Hardeep Singh Puri. The ministry says there were 24 international airports in the country before 2014. During last 5 years, 5 more airports have been constructed or declared as international airports. During last 5 years, 3 greenfields airport, namely Kannur in Kerala, Shirdi in Maharashtra and Kushinagar in Uttar Pradesh have been constructed as international airports. In addition, 2 existing airports, namely Vijayawada and Tirupati in Andhra Pradesh, were declared as international airports in the year 2017. As far as the matter of international flight services from these airports is concerned, Indian carriers are free to mount services from any point in India to foreign destinations as per the respective bilateral air services arrangements, whereas foreign airlines can operate only on designated points of call available under bilateral agreements. However, actual operations are always guided by commercial judgments of the airlines. Out of the aforesaid 5 airports, scheduled international flights were operating from Kannur and Vijayawada airports. Scheduled international flight services to Singapore had operated between the 4th of December 2018 to 1st of July 2019 from Vijayawada airport, while scheduled international flights to United Arab Emirates or UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, Kuwait and Bahrain were reported from Kannur airport prior to suspension of international flight services in the country due to COVID-19. As regards Shirdi Airport in 2011, Government of India had granted approval to Maharashtra Airport Development Company, a government of Maharashtra undertaking for constructing an international airport. However, the Maharashtra Airport Development Company is required to put in place the infrastructure required for international operations like immigrations and customs based on demands from airline operators. As regards Kushinagar and Tirupati airports, the infrastructure is ready for international operations. Moving on to next question that was asked by member Vinay Sahasrabudhe from Ministry of Petroleum. The member asked if government is promoting idea of national gas grid and at the same time is it encouraging the use of natural gas across the country.
And this response has been given by Petroleum and Natural Gas Minister Dharmendra Pradhan. He goes on to say that Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board, which is PNGRB, is the authority to grant authorization to the entities to lay, build, operate or expand gas pipeline as per PNGRB Act 2006. At present, the country has about 17,900 kilometers of operational pipeline and about 16,600 kilometers of pipeline have been authorized by PNGRB to make gas available across the country. At present, more than 27 states and 3 union territories are being covered with the natural gas trunk pipelines. Cost of laying trunk pipelines varies depending on various factors including its physical characteristics, capacity, terrain, compensation allowed, and also is approximately 4 to 5 crore per kilometer. And moving on to the last question of this edition of the Question Hour show. This one is from member Narayan Rane, and the question is to the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. And the member has asked the government about the steps that it has taken to ensure availability of safe drinking water, toilets, sewage systems for people living in the slum areas.
Reply to this query was given by Minister of State for Housing and Urban Affairs, Hardeep Singh Puri. The ministry says land and colonization are state subjects. It is the responsibility of state and union territories to frame policies and implement schemes for improving the living conditions of slum dwellers. However, the Government of India, through various program interventions, assists the states and union territories in their efforts to provide basic amenities such as shelter, water supply, sewage and toilet facilities to urban population, including population living in slums. Such programs which are under implementation at present are Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban, Atal Mission for Uvination and Urban Transformation Amrit, Swachh Bharat Mission Urban. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban has in situ slum redevelopment as one of its 4 components, under which slum rehabilitation can be taken up using land as a resource. There is no separate provision in Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana to provide water and sanitation in slum areas. Amrit was launched on 25th of June 2015 with focus on development of basic urban infrastructure in the sectors of water supply, sewerage and septage management, stormwater drainage, non-motorized urban transport and development of green spaces and parks in 500 selected cities across the country. Selection, appraisal, approval and implementation of projects in a city under Amrit are done by states and union territories themselves. Swachh Bharat Mission, which was launched on 2nd October 2014, aims at making all urban areas, including slums in the country, open defecation free and 100% scientific processing of its municipal solid waste. Under Swachh Bharat Mission, individual household toilets are provided to beneficiaries irrespective of whether they live in authorized or unauthorized colonies or notified or non-notified slums. Government of India provides incentives under Swachh Bharat Mission Urban for construction of community toilets. So that's it in this edition of Question Hour. You can also catch all our programs on the online platform of YouTube and catch the latest on Rajya Sabha TV's Twitter handle.
Take care, stay healthy, stay safe. Goodbye.